I was singing for your audience.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
As
so
you should.
let me entertain you guys.
In my
Wow.
absence.
Yeah, I was like, Kelechi's off doing things, making the world
Okay.
a better place. Okay.
One paint bottle at a time.
One pimp, the future.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm really happy to be here, really excited.
I'm happy to have you as well.
Thank
You know,
you.
I think since I became very intentional with my journey as a creative, I've begun to actually think about people that have really inspired me from the beginning. And I'd
Hmm.
say you have been one of those people.
Remind me.
Because I'm not even whining you, because like I think you are one of the people from very early on that was very loud with their creativity. It was not
Hmm.
something that, even when discovering yourself, rediscovering yourself, you were always loud with it. It wasn't something you were hiding, nothing you were ashamed of or anything. So I think that was something that you really inspired me with.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it because I do look back and especially because like I see your work pretty often.
Yeah.
I do look back at like when we were in secondary school and like what your energy was like, and I'm always like, yeah, it makes sense that you're doing this now.
Do you know that's what everyone says? It just makes sense.
Yeah, no, because let me traumatize you a little bit. But I remember during Miss Premiere, like your energy was just like really, really good. And I remember just like the energy that you approached it with, and I felt like this person is going somewhere. Like, you know, this energy is not going to die here. And I'm very happy and I'm very proud. Like, you
Thank
know,
you very much.
just throw it out there. I know I've said it off camera, but I'll say it again for the people in the back.
Definitely. I've heard a lot of that off camera from you, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, since we're in the high school vibe now,
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask about your murals from high school.
Yeah. Oh my God. And let me even tell you a little traumatic story.
Give it to me. Let me hear it.
So, so I think the 3 years that I had done visual arts with Mr. Kale, that man, if I see you on site,
Even hearing the name.
bro, I jump scare. I had gotten like first position, right? And like, but like you know how they do it based off of mock. That's by best graduating student. So I remember at that point in time, I missed the best graduating student by 1 mark,
Damn.
by one. And then like obviously that was like traumatic for me, right? Because that's like the one like
That's your
academic
area.
award that I was going for, right? And then I remember to now make the situation worse on my graduation day, right? The guy that was presenting the award said, like awarded the person that had won, right, and had said that oh yeah, she's responsible for most of the murals in the school. And I was just like, just actually she's me. Shoot
I would
me.
have screamed. I'm like, eh.
Bro, at that point in time I was just
Wrong
like,
customer.
yeah. Um and whenever like I hate that like that's something that kind of comes to my mind whenever people do ask about my murals because it was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But then like it's
Hey, like,
also I definitely feel like that it's very painful as an artist when like your work is especially if something that's such a monument to
your career.
your career exactly and like one of those things that got me started. So yeah, sorry to get that. Like I just needed to like little like offload that little bit of trauma
No, get
because
it
I
off
need
your
to like
chest. I
be good.
actually, when I was getting my questions, I was like, I was thinking, damn, because there was this big thing you did. You did more than one, you did more than two, you did more than. How many did you do?
Um, I think I did about 7 or so. I
Wow.
did quite a number. I did that year I had a project that I wanted to complete 20 before I turned 17,
Okay.
right? So I remember I did one in SS2 block. I did one I assisted on one or rather like I fixed one in SS1 block. I did one under SS1 block. I did one in the art studio
That
in the art
area.
lab.
Okay,
Yeah, in the art lab itself.
okay.
Right. I did one next to the library. That was my most controversial piece. Oh my god, it
Was
was
it the
so.
lion one?
Um, no, it was the one that had like the rainbow. That was low key the gayest shit. But the one that had it was my most controversial piece because I remember so many people didn't like that I splattered white all over it, right? And Mr. Obina had like really he and you know Mr. Obina was always a very vengeful guy,
Yeah.
right? But like we're art students, so like he couldn't really touch us. Like he could, in science students, he could always
He had
show
that kind of power on them, but not.
exactly show his vengeance through marking script. But like he had nothing on me, so he was like he was giving me his opinion. I was like, okay, like like that doesn't matter. Like like that. Like what can I do about that? I was like,
What
yeah,
can I
well,
say?
that's just my choice. And he was like, it's your choice, bah. And he was just like, yeah, like calm down,
That is crazy.
relax. Like, do you get what I mean? So yeah, it was a very controversial piece, but I feel like those pieces really did like make
Laid
me who
foundation.
they made me who I was. Like I won't lie, like actually taking that initiative as well and being able to like imagine a space bigger than a little space. I had big things to say. And whenever I think that's kind of my approach towards art, like whenever I pick like a canvas size or like the space that I'm going to cover with my work, it depends on how big of a thing I have to say, if
Okay.
that makes sense. So like um I worked on like a little project that kind of like touched on a toxic work environment that I worked in, and I painted it on a very small canvas. The reason being was that I don't want to give this space more. I don't want to give that experience more space than it deserves. Do you get what I
I
mean?
understand
So like
that.
I feel like even like in my selection of how big I go, and that's something that I like kind of got into when
Yeah.
I started doing murals because I'm just like, yeah, like I have big things to say, like so. Yeah, I don't know if you even asked me that question, but I think I just
No,
went
I
off.
like that.
I'm
I
so
definitely like
sorry.
that. I love that answer. Moving on from high school, I think one of the first big things you did immediately would be the Sabi Art exhibition. Do you
Hmm.
remember that?
I do. Imagine me saying no. Actually,
That was a
it
while
doesn't ring
ago.
a
It doesn't
bell.
ring a bell.
But yes, yeah.
What was your what space were you at when you decided to do something that big just coming out of high school?
Mm, I was like 3 months off of a breakup.
Okay.
I was like 3 months off of a breakup. I had just moved to Canada. That first semester, I came back for Christmas, and like I like had all one of those stupid toxic talking stages. One foolish.
God
I
forbid
just
bad
finished
thing.
all of my jet with a man. God. But yeah. So I had just come off of that situation, like distancing myself from that. And I started thinking, like going into the new year, what can I do for myself? Like that was like I was like, what can I do that is independent of seeking like romantic validation?
Validation.
Like, what can I do to like really show myself who I am and what I'm capable of? And then Sabi, like it was literally it was in Sonia's house, if I'm being honest. Shout out to Sonia. We were just hanging out. So I was in Sonia's house and I was like, bro, what am I going to do for myself this year? The year was 2019. The year was 2019. And that's one of the best years I've ever had in my life. Like I think it was the year that I was like the most intentional about where I wanted to be. So Sabi took 6 months to plan,
Oh.
right? I planned it with one of my best friends, Timmy 12 the artist. Um, and one of my other best friends was also helping with like costuming. That's Peace, you know her. Um, helping with costuming, helping with like a lot of like different logistics. It was like I knew that I wanted to be something authentic. I wanted to be something African. I wanted to be something that literally celebrated us as people and Abuja creatives because that year now is better. That year Abuja had nothing. Like, do you get what I mean? If you wanted to have fun, you go to Lagos for that. Like Abuja did not really have a lot of creative spaces, if any at all, that were not music oriented,
Yeah.
and I'm just like I wanted to do this thing that like Abuja had not experienced before and like get sponsor artists to bring their space. I wanted to be very what I called like new Afrocentric, right? Like so like who are we as Africans now? How has even the influences that have influenced us, how has that made us who we are now? I wanted everybody to come in trad. I was very serious about
I
that.
was going to bring that up. I Because when I was like getting my questions together, I was watching some of your stuff from then, and there was this video on your highlights, and you're just like, I don't think you were in the mood that day, so you were just like, the only thing that's going to make me feel better is if all of you come in your trial tomorrow. I'm not playing.
I was so dead ass.
Did everyone pull up though?
Um, it was such a the turnout was so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The turnout was so amazing. 90% of but yeah, like lots of people we ended up selling out.
Wow.
Ended up selling out. We had to start signing tickets on paper, like signing people in. Like they start cutting paper on this thing. Like I don't think we mentally prepared for the capacity of people that we would actually have to accommodate, which was like great, right?
But at the
Because
same
but
time,
at the same time, I feel like I didn't expect to be as exhausted as I was that day. You know, because I didn't really even get to talk to anyone about my art. I was mostly just like running around, making sure everything like
was good.
was running smoothly.
Well, it was your
But
first one.
it was my first one, and I've been thinking a lot about what I want the next one to be like. It has the year after we had COVID, and by it was very validating because I'm just like the people are here. You know, the artists are here. We had like we had a lot of different varieties. We had culinary art, we had like visual art, we had under visual art, we had three different kinds of arts. We had like painting, we had photography. We also had like 3D stuff. We also had like this ode to like cinematography. So, kind of how cinematography started in like the Western world is that it would be a private little experience where you'll be in a private box and you'll have to like watch it on like a small screen, and
Mm-hmm.
that box would only contain like one or two people. So we did like a little juju hut type vibe with like
Ooh.
masks and everything. And when you entered, you could see like different like gifs of like really surrealist African art, right, on like a screen being projected.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of intentionality put into it.
Just you
Yeah, my baby.
explaining that, definitely your baby. Just you explaining that makes me feel like your work, like even from 2019, was just foreshadowing what you had coming next or what you have coming
Mm.
next. Because I'm thinking about the kind of work you do now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was one I was looking at. Is it the Charismatic Magic Show?
Mm.
And I think that one in particular made me feel like your work, you are finally coming to terms with what you want to say, because
Mm.
it's a very, I think you may have been doing work like that before, but that one in particular made me realize that okay, Lucille is doing something different now and this is
Mm-hmm.
going to last.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with that black. What is that?
Yeah, thank you. That's so
What
validating.
is that?
I feel like yes, that's actually so validating because my style actually changed. So my style changed in took like a drastic change in that direction
Yeah.
in at the end of 2020, right? So, context, I had just moved in with my best friend, one of my best friends. I have five guys, like, you know, like this love is for the people. But her name is Kaden, and like she was an she was an art major, and like you know like she's Canadian, so like there's like a lot of like creativity and like you know lack of that Nigerian trauma and stuff like so she would always was like lockdown. Canada was taking the piss, the absolute piss. So like the lockdowns were very intense and we just didn't have a lot of things to do. So we would just spend all our days like painting, and like seeing her paint as often made me want to paint as often. And so there was this artist that I followed, Adebayo Adebolaji, right? And like he used like black as a style. It was very abstract. Like it wasn't the same. Like it was like very abstract. Like I think I'll share his page to you.
Okay.
And I just love how loud he was with like using the black form, black.
Do
Like
you understand?
it was just black and like like his work is like really flat. Like do you get me? He doesn't really do dimension, and I really found that very interesting. And so the first piece I ever made that day, that with that style, I'm trying to remember what the individual piece was called. I can't remember because it's all parts of a collection. So I just remember the collection name.
Yeah.
Collection name is Chaos. Like it's called Chaos with like a Q and it's like a little pride flag, right? And so the first one is like this red painting with like someone smoking in someone that looks androgynous smoking in like a theater and like it's flat, right? And like there's just literally like a little gray line to signal out what is the nose and what is the this and what is the that. And as I did that piece, there were six individual pieces that came together to form a pride flag. So that one was specifically red. And as the pieces kept going, I got more and more comfortable in that style, and you can literally see like there's a bit of a progression, and like there's more dimension to that, not flat. Like so, it's like first of all taking this inspiration
Yeah.
from this person, and then like moving with it. So if I show you that piece, let me actually show you that piece because um moving with like that intention of like this is different. So this was the first piece. Where are you? Where are you? This is what
Because
happens
I
when you
think
post
my
it was.
biggest thing with the back on the black, it was like you said, oh, I don't know if it's very colorful, but it's just, that's what I'm saying. The
Right?
black is the highlight of the whole situation. What is that?
Exactly.
Is that
Exactly.
regular black paint?
That is regular. That's bro, like literally dollar store. Literally dollar store.
I was thinking you were, paying a fortune for that kind of color because
Nah.
it looks insane.
Thank you. I feel like it is like technique as well,
Yeah,
right? I think what makes my black stand out is how it contrasts to all of the colors around it,
definitely.
right? And I feel like somehow my in exploring that style, it's my art has always been like do the thing and make sense of it later, right? Like paint the thing and psychoanalyze it later. So what I've understood and what I've seen as like a consistent experience with my art is that they're always black bodies. The black bodies are always in interesting positions. They always look a little bit whimsical,
Yeah.
right? And they're always being drowned out by the bright like colors around it. And I find that like that is like an ode to the black experience, like and most of the people I paint are black women and gender diverse people.
Yeah.
Like I don't really one day my mom entered my house and said, do you not paint pen? And I was like,
Man, what is
man.
that?
I'm like, that doesn't really serve me right now. So no. But with that, it's like that's our experience. We're constantly being drowned out by
Yeah.
all the noise. And it's pretty, it can be pretty noise, right?
But it's still
But
noise.
it's still noise. So I'm really happy that you brought up that piece because that's one that like doesn't get as much love as I feel like it should because it is a smaller piece. But that piece in particular is about, having to perform confidence and
Oh.
perform security and perform like because I've always been an entertaining spirit,
I
like
think I can relate. As you just said, perform confidence. I'm like, I'm
mm-hmm.
listening
You're
because
like
I kind of relate to what you're saying.
I
But
said,
keep going.
the mic is on.
The mic is on. What?
I'm so dead. No, because it's so true. Like it's like not I've always been like a very like you said, like I've done things very loudly,
Yeah.
but it's also not given me enough space to not have to always do things loudly. If that makes sense. Like, like I strive for balance because I get burnt out and I'm an extrovert and, like it's nice in the way that it allows me to connect with people, but it also means that I am very vulnerable to people's energy.
Yeah. Definitely.
You know, I'm very
I
vulnerable.
believe extroverts need solitude from time to time.
100%. Everybody, everything in life has balance, and I find that
Definitely.
if I'm out, if I'm at a family thing and like a birthday party, I'm the host. I'm always like, I'm always like
Same.
doing, yeah,
Same.
I have a trauma that looks like yours. But yeah, like it's like one of those things that like, when do we get a break? How about
When
that?
do I get entertained?
When do I get so the charismatic magic show is essentially talking about like that's experience. So I'm never really getting the space and or time to like it's like a magic show. Like like you can never know my secrets. Like like I keep trying to perform this from this place of like and especially because that's where I was at.
Yeah.
Now this year we know they agree for anybody, but that year was different. This year, like they agree for anybody, but that year I was still really into trying to be Lucille in like starlights, like Lucille the artist, Lucille the this, Lucille the that. And I think this year I'm more interested in being Lucille full stop.
Ooh,
Whatever you
that's a
see from me
bar.
is what you get. I
That's a
swear.
bar.
Thank you. I've been thinking thoughts. I
That's a
do.
bar.
Thank you.
So we're still talking about the black because I can't let it go.
No, don't.
And the next one I had in mind to discuss because I think it kind of is visually more personal to you
Mm-hmm.
would be gender,
Mm-hmm.
society's favorite what's it called,
Puppet show.
puppet show, society's favorite puppet show.
Yeah.
So I know you're gender non-conforming, right?
Yeah.
And this piece, I believe it was very much a big middle finger to, society and what they
Mm-hmm.
have to say about
Mm-hmm.
how you choose to express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that.
I think for me, like I gender just doesn't gender's a thing that people made up. That's on that. Like, whenever like when it comes to my experience of being non-binary, I do feel I'm getting more and more comfortable in myself and the way I dress and the way I choose to express. But I never really felt like I looked like the version of the African woman that everybody would talk about.
Okay.
Like I never was very bodacious. It wasn't giving figure eight front and back. Like it wasn't giving that, and I feel very insecure about that. Just like body wise, and like with my body dysmorphia. So like even in secondary school, because you know how our secondary school was, like it was like so much bullying, and people just didn't shut the fuck up. Like, like everybody had something to
To
say about
say,
someone's bodies. And I guess that's how secondary school is in general.
and they weren't really scared to say it to your face.
They weren't,
They
bro.
let you
They would
know
say shit to my brother in boys hostel all the time about,
about you.
yes, about like, like there was one time, like, God, it was like dinner that everybody was grinding. And somebody was like, oh, don't worry, they didn't grind Lucille. Nobody wants to grind her pancake or something like that.
Why would someone now say that?
And they said it to my brother, like, and that's the crazy part. Like, it's just like, see, this is what I don't want to pander to. Like I found that like whenever like I dress more androgynous, I would feel so much more comfortable in my. I wouldn't feel viewed, and it didn't mean that I didn't enjoy dressing femme, right? Like it just meant that like I like to turn it off. I liked to just feel my body move and like see how it moved without like having like a microscope of like are there curves. I remember telling one of my friends that, oh yeah, me, I don't have shape now. Me, I'm straight, and like she was like, no, you're not straight. Don't say that. And I'm like, I didn't say I was ugly, bro. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, I
Why
didn't say
the passion behind that?
because there's a negative connotation already, like and it's just like, no, I didn't say any of that. So I feel like with that, like that was kind of just the beginning of the process for
Yeah.
me, right? And then I took a feminism class that really in university that really just let me know that, bro, this gender p, a bunch of people that sat in a room and decided this stuff, because at the end of the day there's so much. Gender and sex are two different things, which we know, but most people don't know, right? Sex is biology, gender is social construction, and the way that you're socially perceived and the way that you move socially. And like there's a lot of we can have lots of conversations about
Oh, definitely.
biological essentialism and everything and how that doesn't work. But when it all comes down to it, it doesn't make sense. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, none of it ever makes sense, because like as long as there's an exception to the rule, it can't be a rule. And like not every woman behaves, looks, has the same body makeup, has not every woman does all those things in the same way. So as far as we're concerned, like you perceive people how you like is we're just doing skirt and trouser here. Like what are we doing here?
We're just doing skirt and trouser.
Exactly. So I think for me, like coming into my expression of being non-binary was like kind of along the lines of like I want to be interpreted as Lucille. Like I don't want to be like I just want to be a Lucille. Like, do you get what I mean? I want you to take what you get, like, and see, and because I've had like I've always had like a lot of like masculine energy in me, and like I do sound very sweet, and like my voice is very feminine, but like the energy behind the things, I'm very dominating as a person. I see life, I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it. Like, you know, like I'm very I excuse me. But I don't have I'm not afraid of taking control, you know, of situations, and like that's kind of what has made me the kind of person that I am. Like I do have lots of femininity, but I do love to leave space for how masculine I am. And even just like with using words, like I had a really hard time last year where I was looking for a job for a very long time. And like my mom was supporting me, and I said it to one of my friends that I feel emasculated, right? And that's not a word that you traditionally see someone femme presenting or
Using.
someone that looks like a woman using. But I'm like, yeah, I feel emasculated that I don't feel like I can provide for myself in the way that I want to. And I think when it came to that piece, it was just like I was struggling so much with performing, with which version of me to perform to who and what and why,
And
you
when.
know, and when, and like, you know, like even with like correcting people on my pronouns, like I'm just starting to get on it now and actually be like, yeah, not that, but you know, like, you know, thank you, but not that. But prior to that, like I never used to correct people, you
Really?
know. No, like is this is just like it was as I'm telling you, I started correcting people as but it's this Nigeria trip that I really started correcting people. Usually like I leave it to one of my friends to like, you know, but I just recently started because I just recently started getting more and more confident in like my androgyny. But I feel like for me, when it comes to gender, we're all just performing. Like it's all a performance. Like we're all just performing, and like men are performing, women are performing. Everybody's trying to be a good version of what they're
Expected.
expected to be. But that yellow brick road is not like no like that yellow brick road is 1 cm wide. You are walking a tightrope. You know, any little thing you veer out of gender norms. Any little thing with men, like even being unable to admit that you have inner femininity, you innately want to submit to things sometimes. It's such a difficult issue, and it's like even with so that painting, it doesn't just speak on like
Clothes.
queer experience. It doesn't speak on it just speak on like gender non-conforming experiences. It speaks on cis experiences, because at the end of the day, like why do you feel the need to pander to only like why do you feel the need to completely turn off one version of yourself? And like, you know, there was one video on Twitter, I don't know if you've seen it, of like a guy being snuggled up to his girlfriend, and like the girlfriend kind of just petting him, and he's like sleeping and stuff like that, and she posted it, and so many people were like, you know, rah rah, like, you know, like trying to be like, oh, look, this little bitch, like, you know, like
The ones I have seen are usually the girl the guy would be snuggling up to the girl,
mm-hmm.
and when he sees the camera he's like,
Yeah.
oh.
You now try to check, and it's just like, bro, like you
Why?
like enjoy yourself, bro.
Why?
And people, I saw people responding to that tweet and being like, oh, like people were responding to the like to the negative response, and like, oh yeah, sorry that this person is in a loving relationship where they're cared for and like, you know, like catered to and like feel comfortable enough being in that position. And it's just like, bro, everybody, we're doing ourselves, like we're doing us, and that's what I want people to see. Like we're doing ourselves by like really by really playing too tightly to this like stupid rules
Structures.
that only people in a room decided to come together and make. And like the reason why I say that is because that is not how the world has always been against popular belief. You know, like we need to give colonization its props. We need to give imperialism its props for
Shout out
how it,
them.
yeah, because they did that
They
shit. Like
did
at
their
the end
little
of the day,
thing.
some places they already had that kind of norm, and they had like a version of like that kind of oppression and restrictive like living, but not everywhere did. Like not as popularized as it is now.
Yeah.
You know, like you like so at the end of the day, it's very much a situation whereby we need to accept that this is a performance and it's a puppet show, and it's either you are it's either you keep playing or you cut the strings.
Ooh. Oh wow, goosebumps. Goosebumps. You speak so beautifully.
Thank you. I am a writer. So.
And it makes me think about, some of your work, you attach write-ups to it, sometimes
Mhm.
poetry.
Mhm.
And
Oh
when
my
did
God!
you
Not you doing your research.
a girl
It's like
Don't play. Why did you start doing that? Let's start with that question.
I think I have a lot to say. Like I feel like when I first started painting, especially like let's like taking my painting seriously, which
Mm-hmm.
was like in premiere,
Yeah.
right? Like I did with that, like I didn't really have much space for my voice. Like I knew I liked pretty pictures, but like I didn't really pen down. Like I didn't really listen to what I was saying and listen to, what that meant to me. And I didn't put it down in writing. So I feel like the older I got, the better I got with my words and like the better I got my words and like stitching them together. It's just like it was only natural. Like some of them come with like write ups like stories, and some of them come with like poetry that I feel strongly. I feel like my what I want to do and what I'm doing on my art page is trying to make it as multidisciplinary as possible because
Yeah.
I am multidisciplinary and multifaceted. And like if somebody said, I read somewhere that if I could put it in words, I wouldn't paint. And I feel like that's a little bit restrictive. I won't lie because I can put it in words and paint.
Definitely.
I find that a lot of times, like, I need to paint it out and
And then
then
speak on it.
speak on it. Like, because I was in a group show in Ottawa
Okay.
at the Ottawa Art Gallery last year called We Do Not Dream of Labor, and it was like focused on like black bodies and rest and how we're not allowed to. And that the piece I exhibited was called Haunted House, and that piece took me 10 months to make.
10 months.
10 months of giving up on it, throwing it to the side, putting it under my bed, putting it inside wardrobe. I'll like just randomly come and see it one day. I'm like, I guess I should maybe work on it. Like, and I feel like I didn't know why that was happening. I thought that it was a matter of I was just lazy, I just wasn't committed. And I had to come to a place of peace and be like, no, there are things I needed to experience that I had not experienced yet to finish this piece.
I relate to that a lot. I
Like
definitely relate to that a lot.
like it's like you haven't you don't know, you're not there yet.
The story isn't
The
there.
story is not there. And I feel like when I was done, when I put those final touches on that painting, I was like, bro, am I mentally okay? I was like, do I need to call my therapist? Because I actually was able to psychoanalyze. I was able to almost in a way diagnose myself based off of what I had created,
Wow.
right? And like been like, okay, like this is probably the feeling that led to this emotion, because it was a painting of like so it was the painting was I knew that I wanted to start with a body that was too big for its space,
Mm.
right? And that was the starting point. That was quite literally the starting point. I didn't know where else I was gonna go with it. I literally got my mom to be like the reference, right? So I got her on like a table and I got her to do this. So I made it in the way that the canvas is too short for the body to realistically stand up,
Oh.
and then I
Can I
knew,
see it?
yes, I'm so annoyed that I never really kept real pictures of it.
Did you sell it?
I did not sell it. It's still in my house. Right. I feel like a part of me I wanted to sell it, but a part of me is also like
Don't do that.
yeah, a part of me is also like I want to exhibit it in like a bigger space before it gets sold.
Okay.
Like I feel like I have um let me see if I can find this.
This is going well.
Thank you. I'm having such a lovely time. I kind
Me
of
too.
forgot that I did all these things. You always need a bad bitch to remind you who you are.
Period.
So,
Bad bitch to bad bitch.
so this is the piece, and I'll show you a picture of it. I'll send you a picture of it if you
Yes,
do want to use
please.
it as a reference.
Yeah, I'd like to have it in the video as well. That's okay.
That's what the piece looks like.
Wow.
And that was 10 months of like giving up and committing, giving up and committing, giving up and committing.
Why are there eyes
So that
everywhere?
So the eyes, so if you notice, there's no face on the head, there's no
Yeah.
face on the body, because the soul that the body is supposed to have has been stolen by all the material items around. And it's kind of like an ode to trying to keep up appearances and trying to keep up the impression that you're okay when you're not okay. So like the vines represents like a state of, what word would I use? A state of like, you haven't taken, when you haven't taken care of a place, like it's not well taken care of, it's
So
unkept.
cobwebs.
Yes, exactly. So it's like it's unkept, it's like abandoned, it's like in a state of disarray, like it's not it hasn't been cared for, it hasn't been taken care of, and so it looks abandoned in a way, and it is
It
abandoned.
is.
Like it's it was a sign of me like abandoning myself to like try and do this job, like do all. And it's like I don't like why I really like feel like I really connected with that exhibit is because I don't dream of labor, bro. Like black people are always, what's your dream job? I don't dream of labor.
And it's crazy because, like, two things I'd want to say. Firstly, do you get shocked by people's interpretation of your work? Because I'm looking at this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe I would have come to, like, eventually see the vision, but that was not my initial. I didn't even have, I just thought, again, the black, and
Mm-hmm.
then the faces everywhere. That should
Mm-hmm.
represent something. So
Mm-hmm.
when you hear people's interpretation of your work, or have you even received people's interpretations of this one?
Yes. Oh,
What were
definitely.
they saying?
Well, when I went for the exhibit, like I remember just asking, like, especially after explaining what the painting is about to like about 50 people, at this point in time, you started asking, what do you think? And people just really, they really talked about the technique involved, I realized, and also talked about like, yeah, like we noticed that like this looks like a portal, like the thing in the background looks like a portal.
Yes.
And like, so a lot of people said things along the lines of like, yes, this is a body that is exhausted. This is a body that is tired. Like those people were confused and needed some direction, I will say. And it's okay to need some direction. But I feel like those people did really connect with the feeling of being stuck. Because if you see the bottom of like the ankles,
I
right,
tired.
they're tied down. Like you're stuck, you're in such a toxic space that you are like the space now becomes you.
Hmm.
Like it arrests you, it keeps you captive.
Then the portal would be you being stuck there, or your soul being
Ex-
stuck there.
exactly. So the entire idea is that my eyes, these are my eyes, right? And your eyes, like you can't see the black in the holes of your eyes. So this is essentially the portal is supposed to be like the portal to the world that I'm seeing, and this is supposed to be what is behind my actual brain. So like what is actually going on
In your
in
mind.
my head
Do you
right
know another
now.
thing I'm thinking again with this? Sleep paralysis.
Oh
In the
yeah.
sense that you are aware, your
Mm-hmm.
eyes, like your eyes could be open or not, but you're aware you're awake,
Yeah.
but you can't move your body
Yeah.
because of the
Exactly. That is
angle.
is very an angle and a very, I feel like that would be the best way to even physically describe it. Like
Mm-hmm.
feeling like your eyes are moving, but like you are being pressed down by a weight. I think that's a very accurate way of describing that.
Thank you.
Look at you putting on your artist cap.
Thank you very much. I'm quite the artist myself.
Period. No, don't play with her.
I was also thinking, right? There's so many ways to interpret this one. I really like it. I
Thank
really,
you.
really like it. You send me the photo.
I will, of course.
It's gorgeous. So let's skip the artwork now. We're still in the art space. I'd like to talk about the tattoos. Let's talk tattoos. Why did you decide to start giving tattoos?
Getting?
Not getting, doing for people.
Okay. It's very, non-aesthetic, but for money. Like that was the entry point. Like I was just like, yo, I need money. Like I don't see myself working a 9 to 5. Like I don't think this ADHD brain is going to really do that for me. And like I want to do something artistic.
Yeah.
So like not like I I had gotten like tattoos from an artist before, like this specific artist, and I really liked her style of customer service. It was something that I hadn't really heard about in the tattoo industry.
Okay.
Right? It was very like, hey, are you okay? We can stop, we can do breathing exercises, something
Oh.
along the lines of that. And I was just like, wow, and like even just seeing like her maneuver the actual act of tattooing was just like, wow, this looks easy. It indeed was not. But at that point in time, I was just like, wow, like this is something that I feel like I would want to like explore,
Yeah.
right? And I would like to explore in like a woman, BIPOC, uh, gender bias, gender bias, don't kill me, gender diverse space. So yeah, so I decided to reach out to the artist and ask for like an apprenticeship. We did during the apprenticeship. I figured out that like being in the process of the apprenticeship, I realized that it was so much more than money. I realized that it's healing, and that's just from seeing how people reacted to getting what they wanted, how people reacted to being able to be in a space, because most of our clientele at the time were women, queer people, right? So like people actually feel like they could advocate for themselves. You don't want a place there, we can move it to the left, we can move it as many times. The requirement is for you to love what it looks like and love where it's at. If not, we're not tattooing it, because we're not in it for making money. It's not worth it. So it's like you see people come in for different reasons. Someone's trying to commemorate a new stage of their life. Someone's trying to honor someone that passed away. There's so many different angles and so many different reasons why people get tattoos, and it's all of it is healing.
Yeah.
All of it is, and now like I will say in my personal experience, it's gender affirming care. It affirms who you are, and if we define gender as identity and the way we present ourselves, right?
Then the
It is
tattoos
quite,
fit under
do you
that
understand?
category.
Exactly. Like it's kind of like since I've got my most recent tattoos, I got like a cute little belly button
I
one.
love that one. That one is gorgeous.
Y'all don't get to see it. Go on my Instagram and you'll find it. But I got that. I did a trade for trade with this artist in Montreal. They're
Ooh.
absolutely amazing. If you're ever in Montreal, Club Cliche, I stand by them. And like getting this one, and they did one on my chest for my birthday. I feel like prior to that, my tattoos had been like not random, but like they had started coming together as a work of art on my body, and like
Ooh.
I've been feeling so amazing. I've been feeling so good. Like I can't even. I as someone that really did struggle, like I said, with like body dysmorphia
Yeah.
and gender dysphoria. I feel like the act of getting tattoos has made me want to look at my body. Like I can stand naked in front of my like the mirror and be like, "Hmm,
Looking good.
I know that's right." Like like it's so affirming. So even seeing what that did, right, really made me want to pursue it more, and made me want to also pursue it outside of that context, because I wanted to pursue it more emotionally.
Mm.
And I found that in that space where I did do my apprenticeship, it was very much like my mentor had once told me, like, look at it like you're a plumber. You're, providing a service, but like you don't, and at the end of the day, like, don't look at it like you're an artist. And I'm like, I am an artist.
So how
Like,
do I off that? Turn
I
that
don't
off.
know that I can. And I don't want to be in a situation where I have to, like I don't, and that's where the question of money versus heart, like money versus purpose.
How many times have you found yourself asking that question?
A lot,
Yeah.
which is why like and funny enough, like that's why I found it more difficult. Like I find it very difficult selling my art, because I'm like, these are very personal, and I feel like with tattoos, I thought that would be easier, and I thought that I would be able to focus more on my art. But it was the exact opposite. It took away from my painting.
Ooh.
Yes. And that was very surprising for me, because I'm like, these are so similar, but they're so different. On my painting, whenever I paint, it's like a matter of explore, do what you want. Like, the sky is the limit. Like, it doesn't matter. You can erase it, do it
Start
again. Like,
afresh.
you can block out the canvas. You can like do all these things. But with a body, you can't do that. There are strict rules and guidelines because you are working with another person. You're working with their blood, you're working with their energy. It was far more restrictive than I thought. And I
Yeah.
stopped painting. Like, I really didn't paint as much last year, and the year before, because I was so focused on like that apprenticeship and like, trying to,
Get it
tattoo.
right.
Exactly. So I found that it ended up being pretty counterproductive. Right. So it's always like an interesting balance. I'm still trying to navigate that balance. I did go on hiatus from tattooing because I did it full time, and then I did go on hiatus because I had had like a couple of traumatic experiences navigating that industry because
Yeah.
it is very toxic. And the I wanted to learn differently. I was like, this can't be it.
Yeah.
This can't be it. If I want to do this, like, if I'm gonna do, like, especially as a Nigerian child, right? My mom is very supportive. Didn't start
But
out that way, but like, she can only defend me to my aunties and uncles for so long for me to be fighting for my life doing this. Do you get what I mean? Because as a Nigerian child, you can only really be a shining star if you are the best at what you do. And I felt like I wasn't at a place where I was the best at what I did. I didn't have the space to be the best at what I did. It really made me, I needed to sit back and reflect on, like, where do I want to go with this? Like, where does my confidence stem from? Whose validation am I seeking? Like,
yeah.
what do I want this experience to look like for my clients? What can I provide? And what can they provide me? Because at the end of the day, it's an exchange. Like, I find the most pleasure in tattooing my loved ones, like, for free. I don't like at the end of the day, money have to make, and economy is dealing with everybody,
It's
which is
hard.
kind of why, like,
Things are hard.
like, this is kind of why, like, even with like pricing, I have to make sure that I don't lowball myself and like lowball my effort and like lowball the trauma I've gone through, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, whenever it's for like a loved one, I find that that's when I do my best work because I can just relax. Like, it can just be a
No
labor of
pressure.
love. It's just a labor of love. Like, it's a labor of love. It's pain therapy. Lots of people, we have a lot of pain that hides in our body, and that shit helps you release it.
Wow.
It does. And by the time you are done and you see the beautiful piece, it's like, wow, it was all worth it. And that's like a metaphor for life in and of itself. Like, you should have something beautiful at the end of the day to look at. And I find that, like, having the way you have that experience is so important because we had so many people come to our studio and be like, oh yeah, like, in the middle of the tattoo, the tattooer said nice tits or some shit. Like,
No.
there is a lot of essay and like sexual harassment in, like, because it is like a white male dominated, and I guess in Nigeria it's just a male dominated
I'm actually very shocked. I
space.
didn't I didn't I don't know why I didn't think
There's a lot of it.
a space as intimate as the tattooing industry.
There's so much of it. There is more than I'm willing to, like, more than I'm willing to even like process, if I'm being honest. Like, it's so that's why these safe spaces are very important, especially for like non-white people, especially for black people,
Especially.
especially because we experience the most discrimination,
Yeah.
especially based on, like, color and skin. Like, right now, I don't know how to use color on dark skin because I haven't learned it. Right.
That's something one of my friends got a tattoo a couple years ago, bubbles
Mm-hmm.
from the Powerpuff Girls, but they were so disappointed with the outcome
Mm-hmm.
because they're dark skinned
Mm-hmm.
and the blue just wasn't.
It wasn't doing the thing that wasn't. That's the thing. Like, I feel like I will never say what I cannot deliver.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to work color, you don't know how to
You
work
don't
color.
say,
That's
just say
it.
you don't
Just say
know
I
how
haven't
to.
learned that yet. It's okay. If that's the kind of artist you're trying to be, then that's the kind of artist you're trying to be. I feel like it is tricky because at the end of the day, like, ink doesn't show up like
Ink.
acrylic,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's like the ink is not formulated for us. You need to know your color theory. Lots of artists don't know that. I don't even know that fully yet. And I feel like that's the thing. Like, I don't know, people really piss me off. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I go through, even in wanting to get this chess piece, because I ended up getting in Montreal. I would go through so many artist pages and I'm only seeing white people. I'm
There's
only
no
seeing,
dark skin.
and that's something I really wanted to change. And I feel like I did change in my page at that point in time because like there was so much dark skin. There was so much dark skin. Like I would do my cute little lines, but like, they be on niggas. Like you get what I mean? And it's just like I would stand on that. Like I find that like there's not enough space for black people. Like things I've even heard other artists say as a matter of like passing, and it's just like that's not okay.
That's crazy.
It's not fine that you said that right now, but I'm going to ignore it because I guess it's the space.
Wow.
So it's like also, yeah, like I feel like when I was like first learning, I felt like it was a pretty isolated experience. And when I took a break from my apprenticeship and actually started meeting artists in and of myself, I was like, oh wow, community, black community.
Very important.
Like there's so much
Especially
community out
important.
here that like if I continue to like restrict myself, I would not have experience. And like all of us are having these similar experiences of like, being in effed up situations and effed up spaces. So like, how can we all better ourselves? And I feel like that has really built my confidence. Like my best friend Mars is a tattooer in Abuja, and like just the two of us being able to like talk and like talk about like all the shit that stresses us out, like us being able to relate to like, okay, needle size, this person wanted to do this and that doesn't make any sense now. You can't even like, do you get what I mean? Being able to like
Have those
fall
kind
back
of
and have a
conversations.
validating voice in your corner, like like it's what's really what makes it worthwhile, like the validation,
Yeah.
and the support, having an actual support system. So I feel like as I get back into it, that's something I really do want to build, people I can learn off and co-learn with.
Yeah.
That is something that's very important to me.
I feel like I could speak to you every day. And just know I'm just happy listening. I'm just like, yeah, keep talking. I'm
Ah,
hearing you.
yeah, text me.
But I do have one last question though.
Okay.
Um, I saw that we're LinkedIn buddies,
We are LinkedIn buddies.
and I saw that you are now the director for the Youth Infringement Festival.
Yes, I am a director.
A director.
I wish I could even big up myself, say I'm the one, one come. But I am okay. So I was a theater kid, right? I did a minor in theater
Yeah.
studies, and with that, I really felt like theater it's so much and more. It's really allowed me to be loud. Like, it's really allowed me to project my
We're
voice.
back
It's
on the word
really,
loud.
yeah, like be loud, occupy space. Like, and I feel like I, what it does for people is very therapeutic.
Mm.
It's very therapeutic. And the fact that it's like, I've always wanted to be like a director.
Okay.
I've always been into like directing film, directing theater. But like I feel like I haven't always been into directing theater. I've been more like an on stage, so like more of like an actor.
Okay.
And like with writing as well, and like writing short stories and things, like you obviously have like a director's kind of mind of how you see this acting out and stuff like that. But it wasn't until like late last year that I saw like the application, and I was just like, I could actually try this because at the end of the day, it is like youth centered. So it's like you don't have to have that much experience, just give us your
Go for it.
resume, like we'll do an interview, this whole like just that whole setup. And I did, and I did the interview. It went really well. I feel like I had a lot of artistic things under my belt already, right? That it kind of like was like the festival producers were like, I would be really like they'd be really interested in seeing how that would pan out, like and what like somebody that's primarily a visual artist, what that would look like, and so right now I am like directing a production called The Way It Seems.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sci-fi.
Ooh.
It's yeah.
I wouldn't have put that one on you.
Yeah, like I feel like what they did is that they let us pick from a bunch of scripts, right? And it was very, I was just like, like I definitely would have wanted to do something. I initially had in mind something like more Afrocentric, right? But then I do feel like the way I really connected with the script, I said no. Like me and like my stage manager, who's like one of my really close friends, their name is Ehi. We both read that script and we're like, this is it. Like this is like what it's one of those like you don't really know what's going on until the end. Like, do you get what I
Ooh,
mean?
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yes,
I'm looking
yes.
forward to seeing that.
It is it's it's scheduled for March, so I'm
Okay.
really excited. While I've been back in Nigeria, we've been doing a lot of character study with like my cast, and we've been doing it over Zoom. So I have to do it at 6 p.m. while it's like noon their time. The actors are all amazing. The whole youth program, like the whole youth infringement team, is so sweet and like supportive. It's very pure support. Everybody that works under youth infringement is 25 or under.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
highly
outside
impressive.
of the mentors, because the mentors are more like seasoned.
Yeah,
But like everyone that actively works, when they say youth,
they meant
they
it.
mean that. And like youth infringement is like a baby theater company under like the bigger one, which is Ottawa infringement, like Ottawa Fringe, right? So it's like it's very centered around like bringing new voices into it. So I'm very excited about how that plays out. Have a lot of ideas. I feel like when I actually get back to Ottawa and we can like stage and like work on movement and like see how people are going to interact with the stage and like I'm just really excited. I
Yeah,
feel like yeah, I feel like I was at a point in time where I really did just honestly need to try something different, you know. And like so my contract ends at the end of March and like it's like a nice little like project. Like
yeah.
it's a not a nice little project, it's a project, like you know, and it's like it's so many people involved and it's beautiful. Like I'm really excited. Like I'm nervous obviously because it's like my debut or whatever. But I'm excited to see how that pans out.
I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for sitting with me.
Thank you for your
Thank you for inviting me
question.
to your home. I had a
That's
lovely time. What is this going to look like by the time it's done? Do you even have the answer to that
Oh,
question?
I do have the answer to that question. I started with this before and I decided to intentionally give up on that.
Sometimes you just have to quit.
Intentionally.
I believe in quitting.
I believe in quitting sometimes
Sometimes.
too. I started painting when I was very angry.
I see that.
I was very, very angry with a group of people in my life and like it was from a very big place of anger and you know it's a big canvas, so it's a big thing to say. And so I want this piece to represent a reverse Midas touch.
Okay.
So everything you touch turns to red.
Ooh. I like how you see shit, you know. I like your vision. I really do.
Thank
That's
you.
crazy. That's really I can't wait to see how this one turns out.
I will actually send it to you personally.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I actually will, cause yeah.
Slay. Slay. Thank you so much, Jake.
Thank you. Would you like a hug?
I would love a hug.
I feel like yeah, like I was like a little bit nervous before. But I obviously felt very comfortable in that knowing it was you and like knowing your style. I think you are very impressive.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've always thought you were very impressive, but like it's really beautiful when you see someone and you're like you see that they didn't fall off, you
I
know, like
agree.
they stayed that path and I love that. Like I feel like it's so beautiful and like I'm just thinking about how I'm doing this interview now and I'm just like oh my this babe is going to like you're not going to be in Palos doing interviews, like do you get what I mean? Like I can see you going so far and I manifest that for you aggressively.
Thank you so
Aggressively
much.
because there are a lot of people that are interviewing people that should not be. You should be you keep quiet. Yeah, hey, keep quiet. Stop it. Stop it. Shh. But yeah, lots of people with mics that shouldn't have them. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see the bodies stand up and reclaim the interview space, you know. But
Yeah.
all to say thank you. I am very appreciative that you came. And you waited for me to get ready.
I did. I'm a very patient person. That's a lie,
You're
but
like,
that's also true. I was happy to wait.
Oh, you're so
Thank
sweet.
you again.